With the unveiling of GTA 6 last year, and with other developers trying to take market share in the genre over the past decade, there's one franchise that comes to mind that is highly underrated, and that is, of course, the Mafia games. While often compared to GTA, that is quite an unfair comparison, as the two games, while seemingly in the same category, have different fundamental objectives and target audiences. Grand Theft Auto, being a household name in gaming, is an over-the-top open-world action-adventure game that highlights its massive world oozing with numerous gameplay content, locations to explore, and collectibles to retrieve. A stark contrast to what Mafia has to offer, which is definitely not a bad thing. Today, let us take a look back on the remake of the first game and see how it holds up. In a nutshell, is Mafia Definitive Edition still worth playing or replaying in 2024? Absolutely. Set in the 1930s in the fictional city of Lost Heaven, it was just another night from a hard day's work for cab driver Tommy Angelo. But just when Tommy's routine was about to wrap up, fate had extraordinary plans for the ordinary man. Two members of the Salieri crime family, Polly and Sam, are on the run from a rival gang holding Tommy at gunpoint, forcing him to be their getaway driver. As the trio successfully escape, thanks to Tommy's driving abilities, he is compensated by Salieri and becomes a friend of the family, setting the events of Tommy's foray from a regular citizen to a life of criminal extravagance. While the plot and writing are hardly anything out of the ordinary, where Mafia does excel and how it's meant to be enjoyed is its strong narrative.
I appreciate that, sir, but I'm not looking for a handout.
Then what are we doing here?
I just want a shot at the bastards who wrecked my cab.
You hear that, Frank? The kid wants my permission to get into a fight.
Yes, I heard.
Okay, Tommy Angelo. All the Morella's girls hang out at a bar he owns. Paul, you know the place.
Sure do, boss.
Good. You can ride along with Tommy. There's a lot right next to the bar where they park their cars. Go smash up a few tin cans, send Morello a message. He can't rough up hard-working Joes in my neighborhood without getting a black eye.
Thank you, Mr. Salieri. I won't let you down.
If there is one word that best describes Mafia, is that it is a classic, a tale of one man's decision to turn to a life of crime, from having the world as his oyster up until the tragic conclusion, is a story that stands the test of time. As the saying goes, it is about the journey and not the destination. And if you have not played the Mafia games, this is the mindset that you should have to greatly appreciate the game. Think of it like the video game equivalent of the cult classic films such as the Godfather trilogy and Scarface. While those movies are not exactly the most in-depth in the context of storytelling, they do excel in their narrative, which again is the heart of Mafia. I mean, take a look at the title of the first chapter, and it becomes quite obvious where the game's inspiration comes from. In terms of visual fidelity, this remake does elevate the first game to become the best-looking one in the series. From the detail of the character models to the aesthetics of the city of Lost Heaven, that is an inspiration of Los Angeles and Chicago back in the day. You will find no shortage of stunning locations. There's even an exploration mode called Free Ride, where you can navigate the game world at your own leisure without having to worry about mission objectives. Which brings me to the gameplay. As I said earlier, while Lost Heaven is quite large, it is not meant to be approached the same way as a GTA game. It boils down to getting the objective, whether on foot or vehicle, and retrieve an item or eliminate a target. If that sounds straightforward, it is. And again, execution is where Mafia truly shines. The pacing of the missions is quite slow and takes its time, because it is the cutscenes and in-game dialogue that carry the immersion of the gameplay, as combat is also just as straight to the point. It is a linear third-person shooter where you find cover and properly time your shots to take down all the enemies standing in your way. While the AI is not exactly the brightest, you can get overwhelmed with sheer numbers if you are not careful. Enemies are also capable of flushing you out by throwing grenades and molotovs in your position, so you need to be on your toes even on the normal difficulty. You're given an arsenal such as pistols, magnums, semi-automatics, shotguns, grenades, and molotovs. On top of the standard third-person shooting, there are also chase sequences both on foot and vehicle. There are also the occasional stealth sequences, adding variation to the gameplay. For completionists, there are also various collectibles throughout the game, such as newspapers, logbooks, and magazines that flesh out the game world. But again, level your expectations, as they are not as numerous or extensive as GTA. They are there, however, should you wish to find them all. As for the audio, where Mafia does excel most prominently are the soundtracks and voice acting. As narration is a key feature of the entire package, it is essential that the game nails this component, and I'm glad to say that it does so in flying colors.
Do you understand?
You made your point.
Good. Because you need to think about your career here. Look, Paulie's at his ceiling. He's the guy we want in a tussle, but he's not smart enough to run anything. Sam is loyal, but he has no vision. But you, Tommy, you could run this town someday.
Well, I appreciate that, Frank.
In conclusion, Mafia Definitive Edition still offers an excellent experience in 2024. The fresh coat of paint, combined with quality of life improvements and optimizations, culminated to be one of the most underappreciated games I have played. If you approach this game with the expectations to play it over the weekend and focusing on the narrative, then I believe you will have a great time. And with its often discounted price of approximately $15 for the entire trilogy, and even less on its own, I recommend playing Mafia Definitive Edition or re-experiencing Tommy Angelo's story once again if you have played it already. And that wraps up this video. If you're still around, thank you for staying this long, and do consider subscribing for more content. I will see you in the next video. Take care.
I wasn't interested. The money was good, sure, but I didn't want to get in with criminals. Better to be poor and alive than rich and dead. So, right there, back then, I was out.